Morning Express it is, and this is the way it is. Well, we are looking at corruption right now, and just before we took a break, we had heard from Senator Omar Hassan, but we'd now like to take a few calls and just hear what you have to say. We'll start with Mugo, calling us from Nakuru. Good morning, Mugo. Thank you for calling, and straight to your comments. The request that you keep them as brief as possible and to the point. Mugo.
Okay, good morning.
Morning to you.
I just wanted to raise a concern to the panelists that there.
Okay.
Because my issue is, they are the leaders that we gave the mandate to pass the laws about the IEBC, because there was comment about the IEBC.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, having given them that mandate, why would now they start polarizing the country again, mm-hmm. when almost the new team that's supposed to announce the commissioners has been given the mandate? They almost announced the commissioners. My only concern as a Kenyan, mm-hmm. I'm thinking, don't you think the timing is a bit too late?
To do what?
And also thinking, don't you think you're going to polarize the country again? Not unless you don't want a peaceful election, they want an infight again. I'm thinking it's a bit too close for this to happen, and it's setting us back to the gains that you have made in terms of IEBC and for common mwananchi, like where I am.
All right. Thank you very much, Mugo. We also have Dan, who is in Nairobi. Good morning, Dan, and thank you for calling to your comment.
Yeah, good morning, Mike. Now, I want to say this. Mm-hmm. That politicians and especially our lawyers are taking this country round.
Okay. There
is a clear deadline when the commissioners in IEBC were supposed to leave office. Mm-hmm. And to date, I don't understand why Isaac Hassan and his commissioners are doing in the office. And the lawyers, the brilliant lawyers we have in the studio, are not telling us exactly what is happening and why they should be there. And if there's something that has to be done, because you see, the body language from the commissioners actually speaks a lot about what they are doing in the office. Some of us are suspicious about what is happening in that office. And to talk about corruption, Mike, I was worried when the deputy president was busy complaining in Mombasa when all of the state machineries are within their powers to be able to sort out the issue of corruption. Who has said if Amason Kingi is accused of corruption, he cannot be arrested and taken to jail? I mean, something can be done. Members of parliament, please, give us a break. The issue of solving what we call IEBC remains in your hands. You actually sent home the commissioners. What about the secretariat, where the problem is? That's where we have a lot of challenges. And look at what's happening at the Anti-Corruption Commission today. You've been busy sending commissioners home, leaving the secretariat, which is completely rotten and which is messing up this country. And if something has to be done today, members of parliament, you have to remember that the secretariat we have in some of these commissioners are the people who are messing up this country.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Dan. And maybe let's start off from there. We have two members of parliament here. We have Opio Wandai and also Irungu Kang'ata. Your comments to Dan. He seems to feel, as a Kenyan, frustrated and throwing back the ball to you. As members of parliament, we gave you the responsibility. I'll start with you, Opio.
Actually, he's right to voice those very valid concerns. Mm. Yeah, but we must also understand that we don't make laws in a vacuum. There is something called goodwill, which is very, very critical in terms of even implementing the laws we pass. Okay, good laws alone cannot be a panacea to our problems. And therefore, what we are saying here is that we are dealing with a legal, at the same time, a political issue. And we are saying that the most logical thing to do, as we speak, is for the IEBC secretariat not to be led into a trap, mm-hmm. yeah, by getting engaged in activities which might boomerang on the whole country, really, at the end of the day.
Okay. Yeah. Irungu Kang'ata, Mugo mentioned that lawyers don't seem to be giving us a clear direction as to when the commissioners are supposed to leave office. When exactly are they supposed to leave office as per the negotiated agreement?
Well, we must wait for the new ones to be selected, vetted by the National Assembly, and appointed. So therefore, we have to wait that process to be completed. But allow me to comment on the issue of corruption at the counties. To me, I want to share the sentiments of Deputy President William Ruto on that issue. And the reason being, when you compare counties which are being managed by the opposition and counties which are being managed by Jubilee, you'll see a great difference. In both of them, I agree, we do have corruption. But at least, members of the county assembly in regions which are under Jubilee, they make an attempt to oversight their governance. They make an attempt to oversight the executive as to whether those efforts they do come into fruition is another case. But at least when you make that attempt, it means the executive is not going to have that huge appetite to steal, because now everyone, the spotlight will be upon that governor. I give you an example. We have Murang'a County, Nyeri County, Embu County, Kericho County, all those, there have been an attempt to ensure those governors become accountable before the Senate. But in CORD, we do not have a single governor who has ever been taken to Senate by members of the county assembly to answer issues related to integrity issues. Whereas we are still reading in the newspapers how we have serious allegations against governors in CORD regions. We have Kingi presently in Kilifi. We have, I don't know, Kakamega, I don't know where, and none of these guys have taken action. When you go to South Africa, presently ANC appears to, its support to be dwindling. And the party which is coming up is called Democratic Party. One reason Democratic Party Democratic Alliance is on its upward trajectory, it is because they have been saying, no, look at the way we manage our regions. They have been citing Cape Town and other regions which they are controlled by them. But in Kenya, that can't happen. They cannot cite their counties. Their counties are leaking of corruption. And that shows if they were to capture national power, the corruption now would go to 200 responses from Honorable Ndai.
That is too harsh. You know, we have been very consistent in our denunciation of corruption. In fact, none other than my party leader, Raila Odinga, has severally spoken against corruption whenever he has had a chance to address the county assemblies. Okay? That has been very, very clear. But secondly, there is this narrative that Jubilee is trying to drive, that because there seems to be some corruption in some counties controlled by CORD, then it would be right for corruption to continue in the national government. That is really a very, very dangerous narrative. The fact of the matter is that corruption remains corruption. And in the Kilifi case, none other than the governor himself, Governor Amason King, has come out clearly. In fact, he came out without even being told to do so. To sack, in fact, he sacked the entire team and asked the CID, the agencies responsible, to move in and get to the root of the matter. Okay. So what William Ruto is doing is really laughable, because, in fact, Ruto, when you look at his body language and the way he's talking at the coast, it's like points a picture of a man who is on self-destruct mode. Okay. And what he's doing is not going to help him, either him or his coalition. In the fullness of time, Kenyans know who are responsible for the corruption which he has brought this country to its knees. All right.
Yes, I thought an official statement would have been issued by Baba from Upper Hill. That's where he normally issues a statement with the big flag behind it on corruption.
About billions.
I thought that he would issue it. When it comes to this corruption affecting CORD governors, the truth is it's been quiet. And it seems not to see. So we don't know whether there's an arrangement, but I don't want to allege that. What I'm saying is that the only thing for our people, including Mheshimiwa Irungu Kangata here, the only thing that is standing between us as Jubilee and 70% vote tally victory is the question of corruption. Let us deal with it. Those who are stealing, you are giving the president a bad name, and you should stop. Knowing very well that the law makes it difficult for the president to interfere with DPP, with the judiciary, with the part of the police, with the EACC. So the president's hands are almost tied. But people think, being the big guy in the country, that he should have a big say. Those of us who are stealing and carrying millions out of banks, let us stop it. If we want to see this country prosper, let's not live in fear. You don't need the millions.
Okay, let's take a call from, is it Dan in Kibera? Good morning. Good morning. I think we have Dan in Kibera.
Yes.
Yes, go right ahead.
Would I contribute on this issue?
Yes, please go right ahead.
First of all, I think it's a question of a double speak, right? Mm-hmm. Because I believe that the deputy president has no mandate to lecture the opposition on how to fight corruption.
Okay.
This is my own understanding, because it's hypocrisy. when we have 85% of the national money that is allocated to the national government that cannot be accounted for. And we are not finding an excuse. Even ODM on the same and opposition government actually need to tell Mr. Wandai that unless the opposition is serious in cracking down the kind of corruption that is taking place in court government governorship. But let me comment on one thing, that we have institutions that are mandated in fighting corruption. And the institutions are given full mandate to fight corruption. Therefore, in any case of interference with the institution that should fight corruption is a question that might be misleading to this country.
All right.
And I think Senator Hassan is one of the senators that is one of the legal minds that we are having in this country. And I'm worried that he is silent and there is a lot of doublespeak in terms of fighting corruption in this country.
Okay.
So that are my comments. We have institutions, and we must be sincere, both opposition and government. Nobody is a sacred cow when it comes to fighting corruption.
All right. Thank you, Dan in Kibera.
Can I comment?
Yeah, yeah, go on.
Yes, we need to understand that when you talk about institutions which have the legal mandate to tackle corruption, we should not only be thinking about IEBC and also the DPP and also judiciary, because it appears people say, oh, these institutions are under the hands of Jubilee and Jubilee-appointed persons. And therefore, if they don't fight then, one should blame Jubilee. Incidentally, the way the constitutional architectural plan of our system, you will see that the key institutions, they do appear to be in the hands of the opposition. One, we have the county assembly institutions. They have the legal mandate to oversight the governors. So when we have corruption in Kilifi, we should also be blaming the county assembly of Kilifi. That's number one. Number two, at the National Assembly level and the Senate, we have what we call Public Accounts Committee. Public Accounts Committee is chaired by a CORD member of parliament or a CORD senator, meaning these are key institutions which have the legal mandate to oversight government expenditure, and they are chaired by people who are in CORD. So to a certain extent also, as we apportion Jubilee some blame, also we should also be apportioning some blame to CORD insofar as checking corruption in Kenya is concerned.
All right. What is not telling you that the chair does not make a decision in a committee. It's the members. So as much as it is chaired by CORD, the membership is still largely Jubilee in terms of party proportions of strength. That's why there's been a debate even in the Senate about how we should reconstitute, or how the makeup of public accounts committees must be, so that then it truly reflects that it is an opposition committee. So when you tell me that the chair is from CORD and then you influence the outcome of the chair, yet you know that the CORD coalition had its own preference for who the chair is, and then you continue to purport that.
Oh, so are you saying Professor Nani and Yang Nyong was influenced by the chair?
No, you influenced the first outcome of Honorable Senator Mungare, and we rejected it. Much in the same way that I know that Nicholas Gumbo, as much as he's a friend of mine, was not the preferred candidate for chair in the park for the National Assembly, and you know it for a fact. So I think they manipulate outcomes, and then both. Then after that, the Senate had a stalemate, and we insisted that we have nominated a candidate. If you really want us to have that candidate, to have what is it called, objectivity in this committee, then you must go with the position of the CORD coalition. That's how we de-whipped Senator Mungare and put in Senator Nyong. National Assembly did not want to delve into that type of controversy. So you must. So when you are out there telling people must be critical in terms of analyzing. But I want to speak to the phone call by Dan. Dan from Kibera. Assuming Dan from Kibera is from our numbers. Assuming, making a very bold cliche.
Does it make a difference which numbers
it will make a difference in this regard. He's saying even the opposition needs to be honest. That's what he's actually saying.
I would say it's the voice of a Kenyan.
Yes. If a member of your own rank is feeling the dishonesty, I'm making just a general assumption, then it means there's a wake-up call in there. And it is true that to the extent where we are looking at corruption, we have been less than honest in some regard. So therefore, we need to go blitz on our colleagues when they are corrupt. where you can't come and tell me, yes, he says that Ruto does not have the moral authority. Then those with the moral authority should then speak. Because if then you do not speak, then where is the moral authority? So, everybody must, you cannot say nobody is doing, the moral route, your defense cannot be that Ruto cannot speak about corruption. Then speak
Yet
about
there's
it.
no one speaking.
So I think in an objective point of view, I think we need to be harsh. There's been a lot of conversation of corruption at the national level. There's been not much conversation about corruption at the county level. And I think it's largely also because of weak county assemblies and the capacity, I'm told, of governors to ensure that some of these matters do not come to national headlines when they come from bureaus. is quite developed. In fact, there was a day a journalist was telling me privately, Senator, unless you're the one who speaks, for some reason, editors ask for your stories in Nairobi when they know you have spoken about something. And everybody is fearful that if the senator speaks, then another media house will capture you, and another one might, an editor will ask, why is that story not with us? That's how my stories probably come out. But they say the other people, when they speak, those stories end at that level.
Okay.
So you find that in matters corruption across counties, they literally end up at somewhere in
right.
baraza conversations rather than a national discussion.
What are your final comments regarding corruption, whether opposition or government?
Oh my God, I've said it many times. Corruption is bad, whoever undertakes it. And for me, you are our friend. In fact, I was one of the 2 or 3 senators you interviewed from the Code Coalition. I said, you are our friend, you're our member. To that extent where you're serving our national interest and helping us to protect the integrity and the sanctity of our political movement. The day you renege on those kind of, basic fundamentals, principles, or tenets that define us, then you're neither our member nor our friend. Okay. So what happens, therefore, we now need to also be summoning people to disciplinary committees for corruption and within parties, because within parties they can also demonstrate that they are lethargic to corruption, that they punish corruption as much as they punish any other kind of
Irongo Kangata, closing comments on corruption.
The member of County Assembly in Nairobi who made an attempt to impeach Governor Kidero on allegation of corruption was kicked out by that party. There was a recommendation to the Registrar of Political Parties for that MCA to be kicked out.
On what ground?
Well, for whatever ground.
Yeah.
The point is,
how come we didn't?
Number 2, we do not have a single governor from CORD regions who has been taken to Senate by his members of County Assembly, notwithstanding evidence of corruption. No, I'm saying notwithstanding evidence of corruption as per the reports of the Auditor General. So the point is, to me, that is an illustration. If CORD was to assume political power, particularly ODM or even these other parties of CORD, they would be very corrupt. At least on our part, we have made an attempt to counter government, particularly at the county government level. And therefore, I would urge any Kenyan watching us, never vote for CORD, because if you were to vote CORD, Kenya would turn as the way they are running their county government. If they are pushing out an MCA, for questioning the governor of Nairobi, and as you have never done that.
Really, there's no point really trying to invent the wheel on matters concerning corruption. What is required to deal with this corruption decisively is political will at the very top level.
Okay.
That was lacking, really. Yeah.
Okay. All I can say is that corruption is bigger on our side.
Where your side is?
Our side is
Jubilee. Yeah.
That is a fact. And those of us
who
are President Uhuru and want to see him re-elected with a landslide, stop stealing. Stop it today.
Yes. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think that's where we'll have to wind it up.
You don't just stop stealing. You punish those who've already stolen.
And that's the way it is. Senator Omar Hassan, Mombasa County Senator, and also the Secretary General for Mwaipa Movement. We have Irungu Kangata, and he's a Member of Parliament for Kiharo, Opio Wandai, who's Member of Parliament for Unguja, and last but not least, Ambrose Weda, who's a lawyer. That's where we wind up the way it is. And do stay with us right here on Morning Express on KTN News. We have news updates coming up, and later on we've got Sports Chat. But on KTN Home, we've got Life and Style that's coming up, so don't go away.